Unexplainable nightmares. 3 sinister true cases where police were powerless to intervene. Emma had always been a fighter. A single mother, working the grueling night shifts as a nurse, every hour of sleep was precious. Yet, as exhaustion wrapped around her like a heavy quilt, her dreams twisted from escape into nightmare. Each night in Maplewood, the suburb that painted idyllic scenes of laughter and warm, friendly neighbors, a darkness crept closer. She awoke, breathless, heart racing, haunted by visions of Lily, her 7-year-old daughter, laughing with Mr. Thompson, their eccentric retired neighbor. But soon, sinister figures loomed just outside their cheerful picnic, unseen forces threatening to snatch her girl away. The tension unfolded like a paralyzing dread over the days. Emma tried to brush it off, but the whispers when she walked past neighbors felt too sharp, too pointed. They turned their heads as if hiding something, their faces hardening into masks of indifference. Tension simmered beneath the surface, an electric charge buzzing in the air. And she was left alone, grappling with the invisible grip of paranoia tightening upon her. Caught in the web of her nightmares, Emma couldn't shake the feeling of fear gnawing at her insides. The once innocent streets that were filled with smiles now felt like a trap. Fear and dread settled in the little moments, like her boss's dismissive comments about neighborhood paranoia when she shared her worries. Twist after twist, every friendly nod in Maplewood began to feel like a signal, something sinister lurking beneath the surface. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But then the worst news shattered her world. Lily had gone missing after a school field trip, just vanished from the heart of Maplewood, as if the earth itself swallowed her whole. The panic clawed at Emma's chest, each breath a struggle against an unseen force. The neighborhood that felt so safe turned into a maze of shadows, her frantic knocking at familiar doors echoing into silence. The words of neighbors morphed into mumbles, their gazes searching for escape from the chilling truth. As Emma pressed on, the truth emerged from the shadows, a hidden history draped over Mr. Thompson, a figment of kindness cloaked in darkness. She felt goosebumps crystallize along her arms as she dug deeper, their stories surfacing, whispers of missing children choking the town's innocent facade. The unease clawing at her heart transformed into icy resolve as dread settled in. She had to confront him. Inside, the atmosphere turned electric, the weight of their shared past suffocating, leaving her gasping for air. Then came the loud, ominous knock, the echo of chaos crashing into her fragile reality. A silhouette loomed in the doorway, neighbors haunted, familiar faces transforming into something unrecognizable. They stood in arching shadows, creeping in closer as their voices melded into a chant encasing her in despair. The horror struck like a beast from the depths, and quivering, Emma realized with gut-wrenching agony, the nightmare was not a dream. It was waking life itself, and she was utterly alone, racing against time to save Lily from the rusting grip of Maplewood's sinister secrets. What darkness awaited? Would she discover the truth before it swallowed her whole? The shadows writhed as Emma's eyes darted from one face to another. A wave of panic flooded her senses, every heartbeat echoing in her ears like a death knell. Their eyes, once familiar, once comforting, were now mirrors of indifference, filled with something darker than she could comprehend. The air was thick, suffocating, like smoke swirling in a room where no light dared enter. "Where's Lily?" she croaked, desperation cracking her voice. But they only leaned closer, their chants rising in fervor, drowning her out. "We want tea, let you take her." Take her? Emma's mind churned. What were they saying? She stumbled backward, desperately searching for an escape, her back colliding with the wall behind her. The warmth of the wood felt foreign, as if it might flex and give way to the horrors lurking beyond. "Please, you have to help me," she screamed, the last shred of sanity clawing at her throat. But they stood firm, shadowy figures oblivious to her plea, locked in this sinister ballet of collective deceit. Panic surged again, a wild beast clawing at her insides. Emma turned, ready to dash back into the darkness of Maplewood. But the path ahead was murky, filled with looming shapes that seemed determined to box her in. Suddenly, Mr. Thompson's voice cut through the chaos, calm and chilling. "You know too much, Emma." He stepped forward, his eyes glinting in the low light, revealing nothing but a void where warmth had once been. "What do you mean?" she gasped, her breath quickening as she fought to keep the creeping terror from rendering her speechless. "What have you done?" Neighbors started to shift, their hazy forms mingled like fog closing in around her. Each step forward was a step deeper into a nightmare, an immediate, tangible fear embedding itself into her consciousness. "Not what we've done, but what you're doing now," he responded, a terrible finality in his tone. "You think this is just about you? You've awakened things that were meant to sleep." Emma's stomach twisted, the weight of dread crashing over her like ice water. Every moment in Maplewood came rushing back, every smile that held a secret, every glance that felt like a warning. She had unwittingly tread upon ground tainted by the whispers of the missing. Why are you doing this?" she pleaded as hopelessness washed over her. "Because you chose to stay here, in our realm where whispers grow fangs," he said, his voice dripping with menace. "And now that you've seen it, you can't unsee." A shiver crawled up her spine as she took a hesitant step back. The shadows thickened, swallowing the flickers of light that dared to shine upon her fraying sanity. The town was alive with its secrets, and each resident was part of an intricate spider web, a trap that closed in around the helpless. With every ounce of strength, Emma found her will to fight. She wouldn't allow fear to control her. There had to be a way to break this spell, to reach her daughter before she was lost forever. The knot of terror in her gut twisted tighter, but Emma gritted her teeth, preparing to lash out against the shadows closing in. Then she heard Lily's laughter. The sound floated softly, sweetly, shattering the haze of foreboding. Where was it coming from? She strained to listen, her heart pounding, the sound mixing with the sinister murmur of disapproving neighbors. "Find her," the echoes whispered. "If you dare." With renewed determination, Emma caught the glimmer of hope among the encroaching darkness, but it felt like a dangerous gamble. Could she truly face whatever lay ahead? Would she manage to reclaim her daughter from this abyss? With the weight of impending horror pressing down, Emma made her choice. She would plunge into those suffocating shadows. And as she took a daring step forward, a chilling laughter erupted from the crowd, echoing behind her, a reminder that in Maplewood, nothing was what it seemed. What awaited her beyond those walls? Would she be lost in the labyrinthine fable of her own making? Or could she summon the strength to break the curse before it consumed her completely? Emma stepped into the darkness, the laughter of the crowd still ringing in her ears like a warning bell. Instinct screamed for her to turn back, to flee. But she couldn't. Not while Lily's laughter echoed like a beacon in the pitch-black night. The air wrapped around her like a cold, clammy blanket, each breath a struggle as the shadows twisted grotesquely. The outlines of the buildings loomed above her, hunched and hollow, their darkened windows like empty eyes watching her every move. She pushed forward, heart racing, determination flaring even as uncertainty gnawed at her resolve. "Lily," she called out, voice shaking but rising above the oppressive silence. The darkness seemed to mock her, swallowing her words, but she pressed on. Just a glimpse, just a clue to locate her daughter. Suddenly, the laughter erupted again, this time louder, cascading like water off a steep cliff, drawing her deeper into the night. It was maddening. How could something so innocent sound so menacing? Ahead, through the fog of her racing thoughts, Emma spotted a glimmer. It shone like the fading light of a distant star. She moved towards it, weaving through shadows that reached toward her with skeletal fingers. The ground felt uneven, as if the earth itself was breathing beneath her feet, alive and aware. When she reached the source of the light, what she found sent a jolt of horror through her veins. It was a small park. In the middle stood a swing set, creaking softly in a wind that shouldn't have been there. The light emanated from the flickering lamp above, casting an eerie glow that danced upon the empty swings, their chains swaying gently, as if someone had just left them. Lily. The name escaped her lips like a prayer. But the only answer was the rustling of leaves, mocking her. Then she noticed a figure in the shadows, a child-sized silhouette standing just beyond the reach of the light. Emma's heart leapt, hope blossoming before doubt clawed at her. It couldn't be, could it? Lily, she pleaded, inching closer. The figure turned slowly, and in that moment, time seemed to still. Emma's heartbeat pounded in her ears as dread settled cold in her gut. It wasn't Lily. The face, small and innocent, was twisted in a grotesque expression, a mouth stretched wide in a grin that felt wrong, unearthly. Emma, the child said, voice sweet like honey but laced with venom. Join us. Panic surged again, raw and feral. Emma stumbled back, her vision blurred as shadows closed in, the laughter of the townsfolk fading into a sinister chant. Join us, join us. The park felt like a trap, the swings creaking louder now, the randomness of their movements taunting her. This was a place where children disappeared, where laughter turned to screams. She remembered the warnings, the whispers, and terror wrapped around her like a tightening vice. Where's Lily? She cried, desperation slicing through her throat. The child tilted its head, the grin not faltering. You must find her, but you won't leave. Emma's mind raced. Was this a twisted game? She turned, the shadows brushing against her, urging her to stay. But she wouldn't. She couldn't let this be the end. With a surge of adrenaline, she charged back into the night, the chant echoing behind her. The laughter mixed with more voices now, merging into a cacophony of despair, echoing through the twisted alleyways as if the town itself was laughing in unison at her plight. Each step was a gamble, the darkness still thick around her. She needed a plan, a way to unearth the twisted roots of Maplewood, to free her daughter from the snare. As she darted through the winding streets, a figure appeared at the corner of her eye, familiar, warm. The fleeting image vanished as quickly as it came, leaving her gasping in the cold abyss. What lay ahead? Was it another illusion, or was there a genuine promise of hope waiting for her? She had to know. With that question spiraling in her mind, Emma gripped her trembling hands into fists, pushing into the night, ready to confront whatever nightmares awaited her in her search for Lily. Would she uncover the truth behind the cursed town, or would the darkness claim her forever? The night closed in tighter around Emma as she sprinted through the familiar streets that now felt like a twisted maze. Everything was wrong. The very air seemed to pulse with unholy energy, and shadows leaned in, taunting her with whispered threats. She couldn't shake off the sensation that the town itself was a living entity, drawing her ever deeper into its gaping maw. Lily! Each shriek echoed back, distorted and cruel, wrapping around her spine like icy fingers. It felt like being chased by phantoms. Her breath quickened, desperation clawing at her throat. She had to find her little girl. If she didn't, the darkness would take her. As she rounded a corner, a flicker caught her, a yellow light spilling from a cracked door. She darted towards it, praying for salvation. The sign above read Maplewood Library, a name that once evoked warm memories, now completely hollow. She hesitated. In this moment, it felt wrong. Don't go inside. A voice called out. Emma spun around, recognizing the voice. Mr. Harris, the elderly librarian. He stood at the edge of the alley, his frail body shaking in the dim light, eyes wide and wild. It's not safe. The books. They whisper. Mr. Harris, have you seen Lily? Emma begged, but he shook his head, his disbelief mixing with palpable fear. They will try to lure you in, he warned, glancing over his shoulder. The stories guard more than knowledge now. They steal. They twist. Ignoring his warning, she stepped forward. The light flickered again like it was pulsing, calling for her. Emma hesitated, feeling the weight of 1,000 unseen eyes on her. Don't go inside. But what if Lily was trapped in there, too? She turned the knob and entered, the door creaking ominously, sounding a warning of its own. Inside, the air was heavy with the smell of must and decay. Walls lined with books, towers reached up into darkness, and the flickering light illuminated dust motes swirling in disturbed air. Shadows danced mockingly between the shelves. Lily. Her voice echoed hollow, swallowed by the oppressive silence. She moved deeper, heart racing, scanning the rows of silent tomes. Had they been waiting for her? An uneasy feeling settled in her gut, like clenching fingers. Then she spotted a trail of light snaking through the stacks, beckoning her further. Without thinking, Emma followed it, each step heavy with dread. Laughter echoed softly, a haunting mimicry of her daughter's. The sound ignited a spark of hope, pushing her forward despite the mounting unease. Suddenly, the warm light disappeared. Darkness surged in like a tidal wave, engulfing her entirely. Emma felt the walls closing in, the air electrified with danger. Panic bloomed in her chest as she spun around, trying to catch the glimpse of light once more. "Stay away." A whisper slithered through the darkness, chilling her to the core. "No," Emma screamed, desperation fueling her voice. "I want to leave without her. Where's Lily?" But the shadows laughed back, a cacophony of sinister glee, relentless and merciless. The shadows were right there, shapeless and threatening, urging her to stop searching and start giving in. Just then, a soft glow in the corner of her eye. Emma spun toward it. There, caught in the remnants of the fading light, was a stack of books piled precariously high. At the top, a single book lay open. It was the only thing illuminated in the encroaching darkness. The title read, "The Lost Souls of Maplewood." This was it, the key to save Lily, or perhaps to doom them both. Could this book unravel the truth hidden within the town's grasp? Emma reached for it, her fingers trembling. But as she did, the whispers intensified around her, clawing at her sanity. Join us. Would the book reveal a way to save her daughter, or was she already too far gone? As she slid her fingers over the worn pages, she heard a distinct cry, one that felt both familiar and unnatural. Mommy! Emma's blood ran cold. She couldn't lose her now. But what consequences awaited for even daring to touch the secrets within? Emma's fingers trembled as they brushed against the aged paper of the book. The moment her skin made contact, the shadows writhed, shifting like rivers of darkness, eager to envelop her in their cold embrace. The whispers grew louder, now filled with urgency and desperation. Join us, they beckoned, stretching their ghastly tendrils toward her. No, she shouted, ripping her hand back as if burned. But the shadows were relentless, thrumming against her resolve. Fear clawed at her heart, and she could feel the claustrophobia of the library closing in like a vice. The walls seemed to pulse, breathing in tandem with her panic. "Lily!" Emma cried out again, choking on her fear. The suffocating silence answered with a derisive chuckle. The dark, twisted shapes danced outside the periphery of her vision, eager to pull her deeper into their realm. She grasped the top of the book with a renewed determination, clutching it like a lifeline. That a sudden freezing sensation coursed through her, a chill that sank into her very bones. The air felt electric, charged with an unholy energy. She flipped open the book, and her breath caught in her throat as she scanned the yellowed pages filled with scrawled handwritings, each detailing losses, tragedies, forgotten figures from her town's past. "They've tricked you," Mr. Harris's voice echoed in her mind, a phantom of warning. But she couldn't linger on that. Not now. With each turn of the page, the whispers morphed into distinct voices, fragments of memories and lost souls crying out for release. Desperation twisted in her stomach. "What happened to you?" she whispered, fingers trembling over words of doom. "Turn back," one voice hissed, slick with malice. "It will consume you." Emma knew she couldn't. Not with Lily somewhere in the shadows. Echoing back through the years, she felt the town's history, angst, and sorrow palpable around her. Maplewood had swallowed families whole, spitting them back out as husks. Each name she read pierced her heart, a reminder of what could happen. As if in response to her real fear, the room shuddered. Dust rained down like confetti, and the shelves groaned ominously. Emma's heart raced. She needed to know more. She forced herself to confront her growing dread, flipping the pages faster, each one highlighting cruelty, despair, and whispers of untold horrors. "Mama, help!" The cry was a perfect echo of Lily's voice, sharp and pure, breaking through the layers of darkness. "Lily!" Emma screamed, spinning on her heel, scanning the oppressive void around her. "Where are you?" But the shadows shifted, elongating, surrounding her. They were a chorus laughing, a network of sorrow intertwined with her desperation. She felt them clawing at her, searching for her fears, waiting to devour her soul. "Help me!" The voice was now weak, distant, fading like a dying ember. Emma's heart lurched. She had to find her. With a surge of determination, she steadied herself, yelling, I won't let you take her. Clutching the book tightly, she faced the encroaching darkness. But the shadows laughed harder, wrapping around her in a tightening grip, each laugh echoing like thunder in the confined space. Every story has its price, the whispers intertwined, relentless. What will you sacrifice for the truth? Emma felt her knees buckle, gasping for breath as dread swirled around her like a cyclone. The ground beneath her seemed to tremble, giving way to a terrifying abyss unless she made a choice no mother should ever have to make. Lily, she screamed, pushing against the suffocating darkness. The face of her daughter flashed in her mind, bright and innocent. I'll do anything. The shadows surged, feeding off her desperation, and she felt them tug at her mind, her heart, her very essence. The book pulsed with a new heartbeat, revealing a page in the dark. Bold letters appeared before her eyes, the pact. What did it mean? What would she have to give? Time felt frozen as the shadows closed in, but the truth was laid bare before her. Would she risk it all for her daughter? As the dark whispered promises of power and loss, Emma's heart raced, teetering on the edge of the abyss. Whatever choice she made now would lead her deeper or perhaps bring her to her daughter. But what was the cost? And just then, the shrill cry rang out again, echoing through the shadows. Mama, please. Emma stood at the precipice of the unknown. How far would she go to save her child? What path would she choose? The decision loomed, and the darkness hungered. The shadows danced around Emma, pulsing with a life of their own, intertwining like serpents hungry for their prey. The whispers intensified, morphing into a cacophony of tortured voices, each note resonating with her fear. Emma's heart raced, thundering in her chest like a war drum, begging her to flee. But escape was no longer her goal. Mama, please. The voice, ever fainter, sliced through the noise, igniting a flame of urgency within her. With clenched fists, Emma leaned closer to the open book, desperate to decipher the horrific bargain it presented. The letters seemed alive, their shapes distorting as if trying to escape her gaze. Make the pact, they seemed to chant, echoing her thoughts. We can grant you what you seek. The air turned frigid, the shadows wrapping tighter around her limbs, pressing against her, as though they could sense her hesitation. How long could she stand her ground? Emma forced a breath, then another, feeling the weight of despair pressing down like an iron shroud. Focusing on the words, she caught a glimpse of what the pact entailed. To reclaim, you must relinquish. Relinquish what? Her sanity? A piece of her soul? Or something worse, something irretrievable? Mama. The voice was softer now, a mere whisper within the storm of shadows. Emma's entire being trembled. Each plea was a knife, carving away at her resolve. She had no time to second-guess herself. Every dark tendril shifted closer, tasting her fear, thrumming with anticipation. Enough, she screamed, the sound tearing from her throat. The shadows recoiled at her sudden defiance. For a fleeting moment, the chaos dimmed, creating a small pocket of stillness around her. It was the calm before the madness surged again, a deceptive peace. Thinking fast, Emma's eyes darted across the pages. These forgotten souls, could they help her? Each name she read seemed like a desperate whisper, urging her to take action. One name caught her eye, Marie Dunham, a mother from decades ago, a figure buried in the town's darkest history. What did you do? Emma whispered, her fingers tracing the faded ink. In that instant, the room trembled violently. Books flew from shelves, shattering against the walls. The shadows writhed, a tsunami of darkness crashing towards her. The whispers, now deafening, screamed an amalgamation of encouragement and warning, twisting into a singularity of despair. You cannot win. Hold on, Lily. I'll find you. Emma yelled through the chaos, but even she could hear the trembling in her voice. A flicker of hope ignited in her chest. The pact could somehow connect her with those who had come before her. Marie, she shouted. What did you sacrifice? The name echoed, stretching into the dark. As if summoned, a shape emerged from the dark, shrouded in shadow. A woman's figure slowly took form, her features distorted yet familiar, eyes glimmering with a knowing sadness. You must understand, this place is alive with anguish. Marie's voice was a ghostly whisper, both a comfort and a warning, echoing with the weight of countless lost souls. Tell me what I have to do. Emma pressed, every heartbeat a drum of desperation. The shadowy figure raised a finger, the gestures vague, yet ominous. Emma felt the air grow thick with emotion, sorrow mingling with dread. "Face your truth." Marie's voice boomed suddenly, the shadows trembling in reaction. "To save her, you must confront what you fear the most, what you've hidden away. Only then can you reclaim what is yours." Emma's breath hitched in her throat. Confrontation? No. The shadows writhed, jubilant at the thought of her deepest terrors surfacing. "Would you sacrifice your loyalty for your child?" Marie challenged. But what did that even mean? Emma's heart raced as unbidden memories flashed before her: regrets, failures, the frailty of motherhood. Each one had the power to consume her, the whispers growing content around their feast. "Mama." The voice grew more desperate, the anguish palpable. Emma felt herself tottering, the weight of her decision hanging heavy in the air, thick like fog before a storm. "What choice do I have?" she mumbled, the question more to herself than to Marie, who began to fade back into the shadows. "Choose wisely," came the fading reply, but the shadows surged forward with ice-cold determination. Emma steadied herself, her heart drumroll echoing in her ears. This was her final moment. Whatever truth she had to face, it would bring her to Lily or drag her into despair. And just as the darkness swelled, threatening to swallow her whole, the chilling laughter rose once more, a cruel reminder that this was only the beginning. With every ounce of courage, she screamed, "I'll do it. I'll face my fears for her." The shadows paused as if waiting, hungry for her commitment, and suddenly, the book's pages began to flip frantically, drawn to a singular, insidious truth that lingered just out of sight. What horrors would await her on the other side of the pact? Would she lose herself to reclaim her daughter? The shadows hovered, ready to decide her fate, leaving Emma standing on the edge of the unknown, ready to uncover the darkness she had buried deep within herself. What would happen when the truth was revealed? With a rush of wind, the book snapped open, pages rippling like the surface of a disturbed pool. Emma felt her heart stutter in her chest, a mix of dread and curiosity propelling her forward. The shadows roared, a chorus of mournful cries echoing her thoughts. "What is it you fear? Show us." They shifted, twisting and churning as if eager to take hold of her. "Face your truth." Marie's words echoed hauntingly in Emma's mind. But what truth? Images flickered, a broken promise, a forgotten birthday, the painful moment when she first realized motherhood was not just love, but a tether of guilt and responsibility. Suddenly, she felt cold fingers curling around her ankles, gripping tightly. She looked down and saw fingers emerging from the floor, pale and trembling. The ghastly hands seemed to pull her towards the depths of nightmares, a chilling reminder of the moments she wished away. "Mama!" The voice wailed again, desperate, almost lost. Emma flinched, but anguish surged through her veins. She had to endure, had to dig deeper into the darkness that bound her. "Lily!" Emma cried out, "I'm coming." Her voice was stronger now, reverberating against the walls of despair. The shadows hissed at the sound of her defiance, but she pushed through their chilling embrace and back to the open book. As her fingers skimmed the pages, a name jumped out at her, bold and stark: Abigail. The name thrummed with a pulse she could feel through her fingertips, a live current swirling as she read on. Stories of unthinkable loss and guilt unfolded. Abigail had lost her daughter in a tragic accident, each word weaving a tapestry of sorrow that resonated deep within Emma. "What did you do?" she whispered, desperation lacing her words. As if in response, the shadows thickened around her, forming the outline of a woman whose face twisted with grief. "Abigail," Emma breathed, recognizing the pain so similar to her own. "In my desperation," the apparition spoke, voice trembling, "I sacrificed my soul for a sliver of hope. It wasn't enough. I lost everything." "What do you mean?" Emma gasped, feeling the weight of truth squeezing her chest. "Once you give, you cannot take back what you've released," Abigail warned, her form flickering like an old film struggling to run. "You can try to reclaim love, but beware. Despair is ready to consume you." Emma's stomach knotted. Sacrifice an essence of her very being? "What choice do I have?" she yelled, defiance mingled with fear. "Your loyalty will be tested," echoed the voice of Marie again, merging with Abigail's haunting words. Decide now, what will you choose when you confront your darkest fear? The shadows closed in, whispering promises and threats, each word laced with cunning delight. Emma thought of Lily's frightened eyes, how she would do anything to snatch her back from the clutches of whatever consumed her. But could she bear the weight of her confession? Suddenly, the room shook, and with a crack, the floor beneath her erupted into a churning black hole, an abyss promising to swallow her whole. "Mommy!" Lily's voice broke through, trembling and fragile, as if already fading into the void. "I want to let you go," Emma screamed, lunging toward the darkness, feeling its pull attempt to drag her back. Could she confront the truth? Was she willing to strip away her layers, exposing her fears like raw flesh? The shadows recoiled, their laughter transforming into rage. "Choose, Emma," they snarled, waiting patiently. "What will it be? Your sanity or the child you crave?" With a final scream that echoed like a wail of the damned, she leaped toward the swirling darkness, reaching for her daughter, stretching beyond the limits of fear. But as she fell into the void, a blinding light exploded, forcing her to shield her eyes. The cacophony of voices grew, deafening, a symphony of horror, grief, and the stark reality of loss looming ever closer. What awaited her in that light? Had she chosen the right path, or was she stepping into an inescapable trap designed to consume her entirely? Emma would soon find out, each heartbeat echoing in the darkness. As it faded away, leaving only the promise of the unknown, the light enveloped Emma, blinding and overwhelming. With every heartbeat, it pulsed like the eerie echo of a forgotten promise. She couldn't breathe, panic clawing at her throat. The darkness had vanished, but it was replaced by something equally terrifying. An empty, sterile void where echoes reverberated but no shapes emerged. "Lily," she called, voice shaking, but the silence swallowed her cry. She couldn't feel her body. It was as if she were suspended in nothingness, weightless and aching for connection. Then, out of the haze, came that familiar voice again, a soft whimper that cracked like glass. "Mommy, I'm scared." The sound splintered her heart. "I'm here, baby," she shouted, desperation sharpening her words, but the void thickened. The sound twisted around her, wrapping her in tendrils of anguish. Shadows began to form again, murky and shifting, but sharper this time, more defined figures lurking just out of sight, watching her every move. Not enough, a low whisper echoed, teasing her with familiarity. "You want to be free, Emma? There's a price." The shadows danced like specters, flickering and melting into grotesque shapes, eyes glowing with mirthful malice. Her thoughts raced. The names, the stories, Abigail, sacrifice, the contract she and T asked to sign. Could she navigate this abyss with just a sliver of hope? "I can save her," she murmured to herself, gripping at her last ounce of resolve. In the distance, the shadows pulsed as if breathing, and with that breath, they began to draw closer, forming a spectral circle around her. Each figure was trapped in expressions of remorse and rage, eyes hollow, mouths stretching into silent screams. "Choose," they hissed, voices layered, mocking her. "Your child's flicker against your fading light," one screamed, arching its back in twisted supplication. "What are you willing to lose?" Emma trembled. She thought of the notebooks where she had penned dreams, the family dinners where Lily giggled, unbothered and pure. But guilt squatted at the edge of her heart, heavy, black like tar. Could she offer herself without losing everything? Before she could answer, a piercing cry shattered the spell of shadows. Lily's scream, raw and heart-wrenching. "Mommy, help me. Stop." Emma bellowed, fear and fury colliding. "Leave her alone." The shapes recoiled, their faces contorting into expressions of delight, relishing her agony. "Your fear feeds us," they taunted, closing in again, suffocating her resolve. Suddenly, a rip echoed through the void, like fabric tearing. The world around her quivered. A flash of light burst forth as if 1,000 suns had ignited at once. Emma felt the grip of desperation loosen slightly. "Emma, please." Lily's voice faded, fragile and echoing in the distance like a distant memory. "Come back. I need you." "Not again," she screamed, tearing through the shadows in a reckless, blind charge, propelled by the love of a mother refusing to lose her child. Her hand stretched out in a frantic grasp, the abyss trembled. Face your darkest truth. Shadows sneered, clawing at her legs, yanking her backward. Emma's thoughts raced. What was she hiding from? What truth did the darkness want her to confront? With every ounce of strength, she tore herself free from their grip, lunging toward the blinding light surging in the distance. But the closer she got, the heavier her heart felt, pressing her down like an anchor. Will you sacrifice it all? The shadows whispered, licking their lips, taunting her resolve. Suddenly, reality splintered. A voice, low and dark, cut through the tumult. You think love will save you here? Choose your truth, or fall. As the light stretched toward her, a chilling thought enveloped her mind. What if Lily was never really lost? But before she could wrap her head around it, the ground beneath her cracked again, spilling forth shadows eager to reclaim their prize. With a gut-wrenching scream, Emma leaped, thrusting herself into the glaring brilliance. Was it freedom waiting, or the final embrace of despair? The light swallowed her, and she fell, unsure if she'd finally chosen the right path, or if she was merely diving deeper into her own nightmare. In that thought, a heavy pulse beat against the void, asking her one final question. What will you sacrifice to find what you love? Time is running out. The light enveloped her in its unbearable glow, blinding any sense of where she was or what lay ahead. Emma felt a sudden rush of air as if the abyss had given way, but there was no ground to catch her. She gasped, hands flailing. The chaos of darkness and shadows faded, replaced by unsettling clarity. Mommy? The voice was soft again, the familiar timbre threading through the blinding haze. I'm still scared, Lily. Emma reached out instinctively, but her hands grasped only at air. Panic surged through her, clawing and pulling at her chest. The overwhelming fear began to stitch an intricate web in her mind, feeding off her desperation. In this new form of emptiness, visions flooded her memories. Lily's laughter, the feel of her tiny fingers wrapped around her own. They were anchors in a frail sea of shadows, but dark tendrils snaked into her heart, twisting into despair. Choose, Emma. A shadow boomed, echoing ominously around her like thunder. Your child or yourself. The figures swirling at the fringes began to solidify. Distortion gave way to grotesque masks contorted in glee. They beckoned her, fingers curling like roots snaking into fertile ground, asking her to submit to their dark desires. Take me, Emma screamed, surprise spilling from her lips. Just let her go. I'll do anything. The words echoed hollowly, a cry to an unseen jury. The shadows quivered, and time slowed. Anything? They asked, laughter rolling over her like a chilling wind. You can beg, plead, but does it matter? Your soul is already tainted. Emma's heart raced. She felt a hollow ache where hope used to dwell. The notion terrified her. What had she done? She hadn't known, had she? Watch. A piercing voice commanded as the shadows parted. In the dark heart of the void, a single beaming light flickered then danced wildly, revealing Lily. Mommy! The child's voice cried out. The light swirled around her, a halo of innocence within a monstrous backdrop. Emma's heart lurched, horror threading through her veins. As if sensing her turmoil, the shadows swirled closer, feeding on her emotional turmoil, drawing strength from her internal conflict. She is but a fragment now, they hissed, their breath cold like a graveyard whisper. What will you give up? Stop. Emma's scream pitched high, desperation clawing at the edges of control. What do you want? Tell me. I will do it. Your truth, they murmured, a sinister harmony vibrating in the air. We offer acceptance in your sacrifice. What must you bear? Reality quivered all around her, squeezing her heart tighter. She could feel Lily drifting further from her, but the shadows still pulsed with their promises, tantalizing yet terrifying. They slid into her thoughts, revealing guilt she had long buried, a fear of failure, of inadequacy. I'm not enough. She gasped, her anguish tearing at the seams. Lily deserves more. Then give yourself, the darkness implored, enticing her to the precipice of despair. Eyes from every corner glared hungrily, watching Emma's every breath, her every thought, and they leaned closer, whispering paths of abandonment and regret. With every moment, the light flickered, dimming like a dying star. A glimmer of hope was fading fast. Mommy, where are you? Lily's voice, distant and broken, sent a jolt through Emma. "No," Emma shouted, the word ricocheting through the void. "I won't let you take her." But as the shadows closed in for the final grasp, the fabric of the void trembled violently. Everything started to unravel, the echoes of Emma's mistakes lining the edges of her consciousness. "Choose your truth, Emma," the shadows sang, their voices echoing like a malicious chorus. "Your light will extinguish, or your sacrifice will end the game." And in that final moment, with fear gripping her heart, she was left with nothing but her essential question. What would she give to save her child? The darkness escalated, baring sharp teeth. Then everything was silent again, as the choice hung impossibly heavy in the balance. "What will you give up?" they whispered, hunger dripping from their words. With that, a shudder rippled through the void, foreboding silence thickening the air, and Emma realized the final decision was her own. But what if her sacrifice was not the solution, but the ultimate curse? Just then, the slightest shift of pressure behind her made her heart race. The sacrifice she was asked for felt like much more than a mere choice. Was this the abyss testing her, or could it see something she was blind to? And as the shadows surged around her, a weighty question lingered. What if there was no way back? Emma's breath came in rapid spurts, panic coursing through her veins as the shadows thrummed with malice around her. Just beyond the veil of darkness, she could still hear Lily calling out, fear lacing the innocence of her voice. With every heartbeat, the distance between them felt impossibly vast, yet her daughter's presence anchored her, grounding her in this fractured world. "I will not abandon you," Emma cried, voice echoing defiantly across the yawning void. "Whatever it takes." The shadows recoiled not in fear, but in hunger, swirling closer, their mouths twisting into cruel, condescending grins. The whispers crescendoed, voices layered, torturous, like nails on a chalkboard. "What will you give? What will you suffer?" The dark manifested, a grotesque reflection of her inner turmoil, ripping open old wounds of guilt and regret. The faces of women from the town flickered in and out of the shadows, each wearing expressions of anguish and desperation that mirrored Emma's own heartache. "Your loyalty, your love, your very essence," the shadows hissed, eager to consume her at the price of her resolve. Each adjective struck her like arrows laced with venom. Yet, in the eye of the storm, a small flame flickered. She remembered the joys, the laughter, late-night stories, and pure, unfiltered love that filled her heart. "No," she shouted, drawing strength from the very memories the darkness sought to tear down. "This isn't about sacrifice, it's about love. You think you can break me? You're wrong." Each word felt like thunder in her chest, resounding, reaffirming her will. With that, the shadows reeled, an unholy cacophony of angry hisses and howls clashing together. "You think love can win in this realm?" The voices were booming now, their anger palpable, swirling like a tempest around her. And then she felt it, the undeniable pull of her truth rising beneath the dread. Each flicker of the light seeped through the cracks, casting glimmers of hope that glowed with clarity. "Love is not a currency. It's my beacon," she bellowed, defiance laced with purpose gripping her words tightly. With a swift movement, she extended her arms toward the swirling darkness, her heart racing, anchoring herself into the very energy of that brilliant, pulsating light. "I am Lily's mother. I won't be swayed by your tricks." The shadows thrashed, black and twisting, but for every step they took forward, the light pushed back, expelling the darkness like a tide receding from the shore. She continued, her voice unwavering. "You may try to take her, but you will not take me. I refuse to drown in despair." As her words resonated through the void, she felt a warmth blooming within her chest, bravery stoking the fire where fear once reigned. The more she claimed her power, the further the shadows recoiled, their sinister forms twisting and writhing, as if trying to break under the force of her resolve. "Lily!" Emma screamed again, the name bursting from her lips like a spell. "I'm coming. Hold on. I believe in us." The air thickened with the pulse of a heartbeat, and the shadows began to tremble, less fierce, less determined. Suddenly, the void exploded into blinding light, scattering the dark like ripples on the surface of water. Emma felt a rush of energy. Images of Maplewood flashed before her eyes, the houses, the streets, all entwined within the memories of a loving community. But now, behind those facades, she could see the pain concealed, a stark reminder of her journey that sheer brightness. Emma's thoughts crystallized. She didn't have to sacrifice herself. She needed to reclaim her love, her truth, and become one with it. With unwavering conviction, she stepped forward. "I choose not to give in," she declared as the shadows strained against the brilliance. "I choose to fight for Lily." With her words echoing off the walls like a battle cry, she felt the void shift. It quaked beneath her, carving a passage, a beam of light cutting through the insatiable darkness that had rightly claimed too many. The warmth washed over her, and she plunged through the threshold, feeling the weight of the past easing, fear dispelling the shadows with every determined breath. As she surged forward, Emma saw a figure standing at the edge of the light, small and fragile, but filled with vigor. "Mommy," Lily called, stretching out her tiny arms toward her mother's warm embrace. Emma rushed forward, and the instant their forms connected, an explosion of brilliance erupted, a torrent of love that pushed back the specters of despair, casting the shadows into eternal silence. As the light enveloped them both, Emma's heart surged with an electric pulse of joy unlike anything she had ever known. They were together, free and untethered, love conquering all, however dark and endless the night seemed. With the shadows finally vanquished, Emma held Lily tightly, her daughter's warmth renewing her spirit. They stood together, unharmed and whole, at the threshold of Maplewood, the menacing specters that had haunted them now nothing more than a memory fading far beyond their grasp. "What would you like to do now?" Lily giggled, the sound as sweet as the sunlight breaking through clouds after a storm. "Anything, my love," Emma replied, her heart blooming with possibilities. "Absolutely anything." As the day began anew and the shadows departed, Emma and Lily stepped into the warmth of a joyous future, together forever unbroken, forever unyielding. Now, if you love this story and want to keep the adventure alive, you need to subscribe to the channel right this moment. This is the moment to show your support and ensure countless more stories like this one are waiting just for you. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others find this incredible journey. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to be a part of this captivating saga. Let us keep the momentum going, join the community, and be a part of the next unforgettable tale.